what you don't really understand in the beginning is you don't know how your life's going to be.
Did you just put the ring on, or are you in the first few years of your marriage? Welcome to the First Year Marriage Show, a podcast dedicated to helping newlyweds navigate the first few years of marriage. My husband, Marcus, and I will be sharing marriage tips to help you build a strong foundation for your marriage. We believe having a strong foundation is essential to having a happy, healthy, and lasting marriage. We will also be learning from the experiences of awesome married couples who have been where you are today, taking from them lessons to help you build a strong foundation for the lasting marriage you desire. Take a deep breath, relax, learn, and enjoy the show. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the First Year Marriage Show. We hope you enjoyed your weekend and that you started this week on a great note. We have an update for you. The communication ebook that we are writing is going very well, and we're excited to see the impact it has to help other couples communicate better with each other. We would also love to know the struggles or lessons that you learned about communicating with your spouse so we can make sure we cover as many issues with communication as we can. Just send us a message to firstyearmarriage@gmail.com. For all the show notes for this week's episode, visit firstyearmarriage.com/22. Have a wonderful week and enjoy this week's story.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the First Year Marriage Show. I am your host, Marcus Kusi, and our guests for this week are Ryan and Cassie Celestain from the popular lifestyle blog TrueAgape.net. Ryan and Cassie have been married for 4 years, have a 7-month-old daughter, and they live in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Ryan works in the oil and gas industry, and Cassie is a stay-at-home mom. They work together to help couples build endurance for their marriages and family. Ryan and Cassie, thank you guys for coming to share your story for us this week.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Can you guys tell us a little bit about yourself and how you met each other?
Yeah, so Ryan and I both are endurance athletes, and here locally in Tulsa there is a 15K run, which is about 9 miles, and we both set out to do that race. And after the race, we both were hanging out waiting for the results, and we ended up meeting each other there after the race, and just kind of chatted and got to know each other a little bit about, our racing and just kind of things you talk to each other, talk to strangers about. And so then we left the race thinking, we probably would never see each other again, or maybe we'd see each other at the next race or something like that. And we actually used Facebook to correspond and find each other there and started talking and dating from there, basically.
So, Ryan, were you the one who made the first approach, or Cassie was the one who made the first approach?
Actually, that's a funny question because I was thinking, I was leaving the race and I was thinking, okay, wow, I just met this girl and, I think she's pretty cool. There's only 2 things I knew about her. I knew what time she ran and I knew her name was Cassie. And I thought, okay, I need to come up with this big elaborate plan on how I'm going to send her a message on Facebook because I didn't want to be that creepy guy,
Yeah.
So I come up with this plan. I'm going to be like, okay, I just want to congratulate you on your race and let you know that, the results are posted. So that was my plan. I logged on to Facebook, and I had a friend request from this girl named Cassie Brown. So before I even had the opportunity to send her a message, she had already looked me up on Facebook and added me as a friend. So she was actually stalking me.
And I actually was the one that talked to him first at the race as well. So,
So Cassie, this is getting exciting. Cassie, how did you know you wanted to know more about Ryan and then actually went on to add him on Facebook?
I don't really know. I mean, our conversation just was really good. We were waiting for the results, and I was just confused to why it was taking so long. And I heard him and his friend talking about their race times, previous years and stuff. And so I knew that he had done it before. So I started conversation wanting to know if he could tell me what was taking the race results so long to get posted. And so we just started talking about racing. I was new to racing and he had been racing for a while. And so just the conversation went really well. I don't know. I think it was kind of, at that time, it's just one of those things that it was totally socially acceptable, or at least in my world, it was, to be able to just go friend somebody that you randomly met, So it was after that we talked a couple of hours on Facebook, I think, and then we ended up meeting up the following day, I think. And it was after that conversation that I told my friend on the way home. I had called her and said, I got to find out more about this guy. So it was after that conversation that I knew that I wanted to find out more about him.
After you guys got to know each other, you became friends and you were in a relationship. What actually was the straw that you guys were like, okay, this is it. This is the reason why I want to marry Ryan?
The thing that stood out to me about her at the race that was really intriguing was, she approached us, but she was just really kind of friendly, and she introduced herself. That was the first thing. She just said, "Hey, my name's Cassie," and she stuck out her hand to introduce herself. And I thought that was really different and unique. And like Cassie said, we didn't really talk about anything serious, but there was just something that was intriguing about her. And when I started talking to her or looking her up on Facebook, we started messaging each other that night. She had a blog called Living Better Daily. And, since I'm a student of personal development and I like growing as a person, that was right up my alley. And instantly I was impressed with this idea of, becoming better than who you are and all this stuff. And the next night we went and talked for 2 or 3 hours. And just having that conversation with her, it was a different level of conversation. It was a different connection than I'd ever experienced. We both were in a place where, we took responsibility for our actions. We knew what we wanted to do with our life. We were completely content with where we were in our life and not relying or looking for someone else. And that kind of laid the foundation for a really strong relationship. And it just kind of blossomed after that.
It's really nice to know that you both knew what you wanted and who you wanted to settle down with. And right off the bat, like the beginning, you guys were able to know, okay, this is something I want to pursue further and then get to know this person a whole lot more.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you guys got married. I know that in the first year, it's sometimes difficult, it's sometimes hard, it's sometimes easy, it's sometimes full of frustrations. In 1 or 2 words, how would you describe your first year of marriage as?
I would say awesome.
I would say it was easy. I know for us leading up to the wedding, a lot of people give you their words of wisdom and advice, and it seemed like a lot of negative things were said, and different people would say that this is going to be the hard, maybe one of the hardest years of adjustments and stuff. But honestly, for me and for us, I think together, all of our marriage has been pretty simple in that manner. I think has a lot to do with how our relationship started.
With you guys talking about it being easy and awesome, what do you think you attribute that to?
I think from the get-go, the day we met each other for the first time and the next day when we sat out there and spoke for 2 to 3 hours, there was no facade, there was no walls put up. We were literally in the moment being ourselves. We didn't have to pretend to be anybody else, pretend to be something that we weren't, trying to impress each other. We were totally content with who we were and being that person in front of each other. And that's what set the expectation for the whole relationship. We didn't have to worry about what the other person was thinking or maybe I shouldn't say this or maybe I shouldn't act this way. It was completely open and upfront.
Yeah, I think what he's saying there is definitely a description of how I was feeling, because I had never really experienced that before, and especially not on a, first or second time of chatting with somebody. And that was one of the reasons when I left that conversation that evening, that it was like, wow, I could totally be myself. I didn't have any worries or fears or frustrations or concerns, leaving that conversation thinking, well, how did I portray myself? Or what does he think about me? Or, any of those concerns, they weren't there, which was something that I had never experienced before. So it was very cool.
What are some of the adjustments that you guys had to go through, even though your first year was easy and very smooth for you guys, especially when you had to live together under the same roof?
Yeah, with us having the foundation that we had, we were both very accepting of each other. And while on some areas of my life, I'm very, very organized, very, very OCD or anal retentive. So, for example, with building websites or with making video production, it has to be perfect. It has to be absolutely perfect. Where if I'm cooking in the kitchen, everything's got to be clean as far as a sanitary standpoint. But on the same side of that token, I'll be cooking with a spoon and I'll lay a dirty spoon right on the stove. Or in the bedroom, I'll just have my jeans laid on the floor. And Cassie is the same way. On some areas of her life, she's extremely anal retentive and OCD, like this has to be this way, it must be this way. And in other areas, she's just kind of like whatever. And with the foundation that we started with, we were completely accepting of each other. And instead of something stressing us out, like me putting the spoon on the stove, she would just kindly and graciously say, "Hey, there's a spoon holder for that." And I'd be like, "Oh, there is." And even to this day, 4 years later, I still don't always get that spoon on the spoon holder, but she still loves me nonetheless.
Cassie, how does that make you feel when he leaves the spoon on the stove?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one example of how we have our different niches or whatever. But for me, it's a lot about I take the time and effort to clean things or have things organized, and if he's helping to keep that stuff organized and done or not helping to keep that stuff together. So, I mean, it's kind of come to the point where it's like, that's not really something that is worth stressing out about. I've come to realize in life that there's certain things that you want to have battles about, and there's other things that it's really not worth it. And I think like with the spoon holder, it's more of just a joke and kidding. Now it's like, hey, there's a spoon holder there. But for me personally, I think the harder part was I'm a to-do list. I get things checked off. I want to always be moving forward, and it's usually at a pretty fast pace. If I have an idea, I don't sit around for a while and think about it. I just want to get into action. And so I know from the get-go, I realized with Ryan's work personality being different than mine, that I had to be careful not to become a nagging wife. And that's something that I continue even now to make sure, struggle with and have to make a choice sometimes even on a daily basis to not become nagging. So Ryan does well with deadlines. He likes to maybe sit on ideas a little longer than I would. And so that's definitely just different personality traits, and seeing how we have so many projects going on, that's something that we really do deal with almost on a daily basis. So for me, that's definitely something that I've worked on the first year of marriage and still throughout.
So did you have any battles that you guys actually had to have a little fight, not necessarily throwing your face here and there, but have a heated argument about?
No, the only thing that we could come close to having an argument or a fight over was early on in our relationship. We made up a fictitious fight or disagreement about going out one night, and we were pretending that. I wonder if this is what our friends deal with, when they're talking about a fight with their spouse. And we were just like laughing, but pretending to be mad at each other and like bringing up stuff that was irrelevant. And it was fun, but at the same moment, it was like, we don't really have those issues. One of the things that we've done early on is if there was ever an issue or a problem, we would bring it up and talk about it early, so it didn't become much bigger than what it was, a week or 2 weeks or a month or 2 months from now, to just kind of address it early on and move on from there.
It looks like you guys did a great job communicating with each other, and I can see from what you guys are telling us right now that you really communicated a lot, especially with the little things that you had problems about, you were worried about during that first year.
Right.
Since you guys really talked a lot about the issues that you're having during that first year, what are one or two communication skills that you guys think really helped you guys to be able to converse or talk better about the issues that you're having and prevent them from even happening during that first year?
I think for me personally, like before meeting Ryan and other relationships, for whatever reason, I wasn't necessarily as open and maybe even honest about my feelings or situations. And so those things would kind of build up, or I would put them to the, back burner because it wasn't worth bringing it up, or it wasn't worth the disagreement or whatever it was going to cause. And so after I met Ryan and that, those first few weeks of just feeling really open and honest, I came to realize that if something was bothering me, I needed to give it like maybe a day, make sure it wasn't because I was moody, say a prayer about it. But, if it went beyond a 24-hour span of something that I felt like I needed to talk to Ryan about, then I needed to do that. And there hasn't been a lot of times that I needed to do it. But I mean, there has been sometimes it's just something that's just, on your heart or something that you need to talk about and you just have to do it. And so for me, I kind of enforce a 24-hour policy. If it's bothering you, then it needs to be talked about. And that kind of goes back to what Ryan was saying. If you deal with things early on, it's not getting pushed back and building and festering and making this huge argument later down the road a month later,
Yeah. Did you guys have any struggles that you had to deal during that first year at all?
The one thing that I had a random thought in my head. It was right after we got married, and we just bought a house, and we were trying to get the wallpaper off the wall. And, Cassie had been working all day long, and I had gotten off work, and I was over here, and we were working, and she was just so stressed out. And just, I had not seen her like this before. And then all of a sudden, she talked to her stepdad, and then got some advice, and then she was happy. And I was so blown away because, first of all, I hadn't seen her like this before. And then secondly, I was like, oh, so these are what mood swings are. and like, I was so perplexed and blown away about how it was the end of the world. And literally a couple minutes later, life was grand. And I got to say, that's only happened one or two times. But
once I was pregnant.
Yeah. But and that wasn't even an issue. But that was one of the times where I thought, okay, so is this what married life is like?
So, Cassie, during that moment that you were going through all the stress, what did you talk to your stepdad about? Like, was there any emotional reason why, after talking to him, you became relaxed and calm?
Well, so my stepdad, he's like a handyman and always, has always done a lot of projects or whatever. And so I can't remember what the actual problem was with the wallpaper, but it's an older home, had like 7 layers of wallpaper, been working all day trying to get it off. And I called Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever and asked them something. I needed a product, something or another. And I did not like the answer that they gave me, or I thought they were stupid and didn't know what they were talking about, or I don't know what the problem was. And so I just knew that if I talked to my dad, he would be able to give me the answer that I needed. Well, of course, he didn't answer the phone. So, of course, this is just building. And I'm mad that he won't answer, and the people at Lowe's weren't helpful. And I knew in the moment that my attitude was totally out of hand. And it was out of character for myself as well. So, and I knew that it was. And I probably was even thinking, poor Ryan is like, what's going on? So then once my dad returned my call and gave me his advice like I knew that he knew how to do, that's all I really wanted. And I was perfectly fine after that because I had a solution to my problem that I was needing solved. And then, yeah, like Ryan said, after I got the answer, I was, for whatever he told me, just gave me enough relief that I knew it would work out, or whatever. And life was grand after that again.
It's amazing how just one phone call can change a lot of things.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. From what you just told me about your stepdad, it looks like you guys had really strong relationships with your in-laws. After you guys got married, what did you do to set boundaries with your in-laws?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think for the most part, we don't really have any issues with the in-laws that really have to be dealt with. I think more, I guess an easy way to put it would be like personalities, in the sense of that just may not be a personality that we're necessarily used to. But both of our set of parents are very helpful and there for us. When we need them, they help us take care of the baby, and they came over and helped us with the house when we were painting and that kind of thing. So, I don't know. I haven't really thought about that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's been anything that we had to just set boundaries on. I don't think any of our in-laws have or parents have crossed any lines. But like Cassie said, just dealing with their personalities is a little different. So, after spending a lot of time with some of them, like whether going on vacation or them coming over for the holidays, it's different because we're not around him like we were when we were growing up. But that's not really a conflict. That's just a relationship or human relationship thing.
Oh, okay. So you guys didn't have any issues with your in-laws. Your first year was smooth and cozy. Because it was smooth and cozy, I'm guessing that you guys had a lot of fun during that first year. Am I right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Can you guys share one or two of those exciting moments or fun moments that you had in that first year?
Yeah. Leading up to our wedding, I actually had the opportunity to race for Team USA in the long course duathlon world championships, which were in Switzerland.
Wow,
And
congrats.
thank you. That was in September, and that's where I proposed to her in Switzerland. So then we planned our wedding in 6 to 7 weeks and got married at the same race that we met at a year prior. So we ran the race that morning and got married in the afternoon. And since we went to Switzerland literally 2 months before our wedding, we didn't really have a honeymoon. We just went and bought a house and moved in, and everything was kind of low key. And then I actually won a trip through a contest to the 2012 London Olympics, and that was in August. So being able to go to the Olympics was kind of like our honeymoon. So that was a really fun and awesome experience to be able to see that live and to meet some of the Olympians and some of the amazing people running that event.
Wow, looks like that was a really great opportunity, because going to the Olympics, being invited to go to the Olympics is something that not everybody gets that opportunity. So I can see
Right.
how fun that would be for you guys, especially when you didn't have the time to have your honeymoon that other people get to have after they get married.
Right.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
What are some of the fun things that you guys did when you went there?
We had all access pass.
Wow.
So we got to see every event we wanted. We saw table tennis, water polo, diving, 8 hours of track and field, BMX racing, triathlon, field hockey, 2 men's USA basketball games. I mean, just whatever we wanted to see, we got to do. There was free food, free drinks. We took just tons and tons of pictures. And we even had some time to do a little bit of sightseeing and taking some of the local attractions.
Cassie, do you want to share something exciting that you experienced during that time?
Yeah, I think it was really cool. I mean, Ryan is training to become a professional athlete or triathlete rather, and that was one of the reasons that we got to go there specifically to see the triathlon. So that was really neat to see, what our future could look like in that sense of him going to bigger races and, even potentially the Olympics. So that was really neat. And then basketball, the basketball was really cool because where else can you go and see? We've never even seen like an NBA game, yet we were there and got to see all of the greatest athletes together. So, but I mean, like you said, not everybody just gets to be invited to the Olympics. So to choose one part of it was so hard because it all was so crazy, amazingly in a good way, so.
That's really good. I'm glad you guys had fun, doing that over there and being able to see all the stars you want to see and having the opportunity to do whatever you wanted to do with the All Access Pass.
Right.
Yeah. You guys have been married for over 4 years. I know with marriage, and from the way you guys are talking and sharing your story with us today, there are certain things that you guys do on a daily basis to improve your marriage. What would be like 1 or 2 resources that you guys have used that you think have impacted your marriage that our listeners who are listening to us today and I myself can also use to improve my marriage?
Yeah, my number one marriage resource is always The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. It's a book and it has a quiz in there as well that you answer. It gives you like 2 scenarios and you choose the one that best describes you, which one you would prefer your spouse to do. And you kind of just tally up at the end your answers and it tells you what your primary love language is. And so early on in our dating, we took the quiz and found out what each other's love language was, which was really good because Ryan's primary love language is words of affirmation, and that's not necessarily what I thought it was. So I could have been trying to love him in the wrong way. So the whole concept behind the 5 love languages is it's easiest for us to speak the love language that we prefer, just like a foreign language. We speak what we practice and know the best. And so my primary love language would be quality time. And so if I'm trying to give Ryan lots of quality time, that's not necessarily what he needs the most. So finding out what we both needed and appreciated early on, again, helps set the foundation to show each other, what was the best way to show love towards each other. So always my number one recommendation.
Ryan, is there something I wanted to add, or you will stick with the 5 love languages?
Yes, because that really gets you in tune with who you are as a person, which is important, but also who your spouse is. And when you both are on the same page as to how you want to be loved and need to be loved, and how they want to be loved and need to be loved, it's a lot easier to communicate that love when you know that.
And I'll add in there with True Agape, doing some research and talking with some ladies, it almost always comes back to the issue of their spouse not knowing their love language. Some lady was talking about she just didn't feel loved. Her husband never helped her with the kids, and she was always cooking dinner and da-da-da-da. And I asked her to take the 5 love language quiz, and her primary love language was acts of service. Well, she had never heard of the love languages. Her husband didn't know that's what she needed to feel appreciated and, helpful. And that's been true over and over again with it, receiving gifts, words of affirmations, all the different ones. It usually comes back to the spouse not knowing or not speaking the love language.
Yeah. I personally agree with what you guys said, because my wife and I, we also read that book, and we didn't take the online course, but we read the book together as part of one of the things that we do every year to improve our marriage. And we learned a lot of things about each other, and I was surprised to know what her love language was, and she was also surprised to know what mine was, because what we were thinking about was completely different from the way we actually wanted to be loved, or the way we felt loved based on what we did for each other. So I'm really glad you guys also share this resource, because over the past 20 episodes that we've had, most of the couples have recommended the 5 love languages book as the number one resource for married couples. So I'm thankful for you guys also sharing your experience with that resource for us. I know you guys had a really good first year, and we've talked a little bit about some of the struggles you had, some of the exciting moments that you guys had together. What is the one lesson or advice that you guys know now that if you were to get married again, or you were to talk to a newlywed couple, you will give to them?
Yeah, I think for me, it's really the concept of when you get married, your spouse's helpmate, and you think you understand that when you get married. Yes, I'm there to help them through whatever life, brings our way. And what you don't really understand in the beginning is you don't know how your life's going to be. Is there work issues? Is there finance issues? Whatever things come up in life. And so you being the helpmate looks a lot different in different areas, different times, as time goes through the marriage, and different, when your first child's born, different things like that. So just knowing that is your primary focus in the marriage, and that role looks different as different phases of life happen.
Ryan, what will lead out to that?
So I really believe that, what you focus on grows. And like Cassie said, whenever we were getting married, people were talking about, oh, your life is going to be over and things are going to be so different. And the first year is so hard and it's going to be so tough. And it wasn't. And I think it's because of our focus and our belief in our expectations. I think if you were to go into marriage expecting it to be hard and challenging and frustrating and not fun and your life is over, that's going to be probably a miserable experience because that's what you're focusing on. For us, it was not. We were always looking forward to something. We're always looking towards something. And that's actually something she and I had talked about before. Ever since we met, we were always looking and working towards something. The first year we were together, we were working and looking towards going to Switzerland. The next year, we were working towards and going to London. The next year, we were looking towards being a professional motivational speaker. all the while training to become a professional triathlete, doing our first Ironman, having our first baby. There's always been this big thing to focus on. And again, going back to our expectations of wanting and having and believing that we have a good relationship and expecting the best.
There's a lot of insights that you guys have given us. Before we part with you guys, I want you guys to share with us how our listeners can connect with you guys if they want to say thank you or if they want to reach out.
Yeah, of course. So our blog is trueagape.net. Commenting there or finding us on Facebook and Twitter is a great communication tool and community there. Not only communicate with us, but the rest of our followers as well.
Thank you very much, Cassie and Ryan, for coming to share your story with us this week. I really appreciate it. And I know we are all going to benefit from listening to your story, and we'll be able to take 1 or 2 lessons that we can apply in our marriage to make our marriages better for the good of society in general.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the First Year Marriage Show. To submit a question, feedback, or suggestions for the podcast, visit firstyearmarriage.com/feedback. Apply what you've learned today and build a strong foundation for the happy, healthy, and lasting marriage you desire. Enjoy your marriage. Enjoy your life.